MSNBC recently hired former Senator Claire McCaskill, and they could have hired a journalist, but instead they decided to hire a senator that no one's ever heard of. She's a Democrat, and by Democrat, I mean she's an establishment Democrat. Well, she finally had her first segment where she was interviewed on MSNBC as a hired employee, and everything that she says is technically correct. The way she means it is incorrect. But I want you to pay very careful attention to her verbiage because technically everything she's about to say is correct. Let's take a look at this video and then we'll talk about it.
I want to go now to, let me go right now to Claire McCaskill, who joins us, who's been saying some very interesting things. Claire McCaskill, of course, former senator from that very difficult political state of Missouri, or both. Let me ask you about this, because two guys get on an airplane. It's like a joke at a bar. One guy's got a suit and a tie, and he's been around for 50 years. He's got 50 years, frankly, of political history. That's Joe Biden. Another guy gets on a plane, rolled up sleeves, no tie, really hasn't done anything historically, has not much of a legislative record, but everybody likes him. Who wins? Your thoughts?
Well, whoever can knit together the middle and the left is who's going to win, and that's who we should nominate. I think both of them understand how important that is. I'm not sure every candidate running gets that part, but this isn't going to work if we give up on what has always been the heart and soul of our party, and that's working class families. And
well, the
we've got to
polling,
make
by the way, I'm sorry, you go ahead. But the polling now says that the party's split. You got 51% who say I'm a liberal. Most people we meet around town here in New York say I'm a liberal. But there's a big country out there. And 47% either call themselves moderates or conservatives. These are self-identified Democrats. You're right. Takes both sides.
Well, but the presidency, Chris, is always decided by those people who don't vote through a party lens. I mean, our country is about a third, a third, and a third. So if that's our country and we want a president who can govern that country, seems like we need to get busy and nominate somebody that can put together a majority of more than 50%. I mean, imagine if we ended up with somebody like we currently have. We have a president right now whose support is probably somewhere, strong support, around 30, 35%. And he's not doing so well. We need a president who can unite this country, and that's only going to happen if our nominee gets that the middle matters.
So how do you get past the fact that only the most passionate voters who show up in either party are the ones who are most polarized? For example, Iowa's always sort of amazed me, but Iowa has a lot of people on the left. It also has a lot of people on the right. Grassley's been the senator forever out there, so it's figure it out. But a lot of people on the left show up with great passion. They may be Bernie people. They may be Elizabeth Warren people. They may be some Kamala Harris people. They're very comfortable with the word progressive. They don't have any problem with the word socialist necessarily in some cases. And yet, when the time you get to the general election, as you say, not just Democrats vote, but independents vote, who are mostly moderates, and Republicans vote, some of whom are not right-wingers, that you try to get those suburban votes, too. How do you tell that to the people who know you got to win in Iowa first? Because if you lose Iowa to someone on the left, if you lose New Hampshire to someone on the left, you lose to South Carolina, Nevada, and if the left wins the first several contests, how can you beat the one who won all those contests?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure that the candidate who's furthest on the left is going to win any of those primaries. I get it that the base of both parties are further away from the middle. But that doesn't mean that the majority of Democrats that are going to participate in the first 5 or 6 primaries don't all agree on the same principles. And we've got to communicate in a way that speaks to all of those voters, not just those that are most likely to show up, but those that are also, probably going to show up. And I've got Senator Cory Booker coming on. Suppose he says, the first thing I got to do is, like in basketball, like the sweet, March Madness, I got to beat the people in my brackets first. I can't beat Biden first. I've got to beat, say, Kamala first. I got to get votes that might otherwise go to Kamala, or might otherwise go to Elizabeth, or might go to Bernie. I got to beat people on the left before I get to the Senate. I get to the real fight. Isn't that the problem? People fight like Biden's probably has to fight it out with Beto. For the moderate vote, you know how it works. Brackets. Well, I think the candidate who communicates and inspires that he or she can unite this country is going to be the candidate that Democrats are going to fall behind.
She's right. She, out of all the people, is completely correct. Every single thing that she just said, 100% spot on. I couldn't find a point of disagreement. So what she's saying is we need to find someone who can unite the left, essentially. You have these moderates, like almost half of the Democrats are moderates or conservatives, and the other half are more progressives. But here's the thing, and she said this, she said, people don't vote with a political lens. They vote on principles. And so you need someone who has unifying principles. Who is this person? This is not the Claire McCaskill that was speaking like a week ago. I've been saying the same thing this entire time. We need someone who can unite the entire party. Now, I question whether she thinks that like Joe Biden or Cory Booker is the answer. I know what the answer is. It's Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders literally unites the left. And I'll explain the numbers in a second here, but I don't think that's what she means. But she said in there, she mentioned it could possibly be that there's someone on the far left that could potentially unite the left. And I'm like, thank you? That's correct. MSNBC. And you could tell this old guy, this interviewer, is like, he keeps bringing up Joe Biden and Cory Booker. And he even framed Kamala Harris as a progressive. Please, get out of here. This guy thinks that Kamala Harris is a socialist. First off, none of them are socialists. Socialism is the social ownership of the means of production. Bernie Sanders is a social democrat. Kamala Harris is a capitalist, and a neoliberal, I should say. And Elizabeth Warren is a pseudo-social democrat. She's kind of more along the lines of social democracy. Not as much as Bernie Sanders, though. AOC is a social democrat. So everything she said, though, was correct. And let me give you the numbers real quick. You have to look at principles. So what does the left want? Well, the number one issue for people on the left is healthcare. Well, what is the number one policy right now on the left for when it comes to healthcare? Universal healthcare. How much? Well, 85% of Democrats want universal healthcare. So there's your answer. Who runs on universal healthcare? Well, you got Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Tulsi Gabbard. I think there's a couple others, but those are the main ones. But if you want one who's been genuine, who's actually advocated for universal healthcare for as long as since like the Stone Age, it was Bernie Sanders, right? So vote for Bernie Sanders. Claire McCaskill just gave you a really good reason why you should vote for Bernie Sanders. He unites the left. Look at any other issue, though. If you consider, for example, let's do a living wage, right? A living wage is something that is overwhelmingly popular with the left. The Green New Deal has over 80% of support of Americans. Guys, Bernie Sanders can not only unite the left, he can unite the right. 67% of Republicans want the Green New Deal. 67%. That means that Bernie Sanders is so far to the left, but he promotes principles that garnish support all the way from the right side. They're so overwhelmingly popular. What are we doing? I can't believe it. She said that. I was expecting this entire time. I'm expecting she's going to say Cory Booker. She's going to say Cory Booker. She didn't say it. And I'm like, yes. I was so excited when I saw this. Now, again, I don't know necessarily whether or not she thinks that Bernie Sanders is the answer. I honestly think that she thinks people like Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, or Kirsten Gillibrand, I think that that's the Democratic playfield that she wants to play with. And that's who she thinks will unite the left. Joe Biden, those kind of people. But I could not tell from that segment. And so if someone was watching that segment and didn't know who Claire McCaskill is, which is probably 99.999% of Americans, then wow, that was impressive. Thank you, Claire McCaskill.